Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Argos, Xenix, and Mentos here on Lost Temple. Here we have Argos spawning as the red Zerg player at the 6 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Mentos spawning as the blue Protoss player all the way across the map here at the 12 o'clock position. Based upon these spawning locations, the walking distance is the furthest you could possibly get here on Lost Temple and should make for an exciting macro game. We'll see exactly what these players are trying to do, as Argos doing an uncharacteristic scouting in a clockwise direction, not trying to go across this small chasm here, but instead flying into this direction. Now, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this probe will be able to gain sight of this one overlord in time or not, as it's going to try to come up to this ramp, see if there is creep here, and then make its way south. The overlord does move very, very slowly, about a half, 0.47. That means, I believe it means that it moves a half a frame every second, so that is the slowest moving unit that I know of in the game. That probe will be trying to make its way across in just a moment, and it looks like it will not be able to see this overlord. The overlord has gone for a fairly distant and fairly safe distance away, and now we may get a hatchery being placed down here in just a moment. That probe should be coming around that corner, and it will not see this drone that's currently on patrol here. And now that one drone should make its way up into this location and try to set up a hatchery in just a second. Waiting for it. Argos Xenix still down over here. Finally will be able to set up a hatchery. The probe will not be able to stop it. And now the probe trying to run away, perhaps making sure to scout that there is a hatchery down over here. Back in the base, Mentos currently setting up a gateway. A gateway should be also getting a cybernetics core right here, followed by a zealot. Pretty standard build so far coming in from Mentos, nothing too out of the ordinary. Also a pretty standard play by Argos Xenix, getting a hatchery into a spawning pool. He may not go for an extractor. No, he is going to go for an extractor. A lot of Zerg players like to go for more of an economic game and try to train as many drones, get as many drones on minerals, and use unupgraded lings, and also use those queens for creep tumors, allowing them to get essentially speed boost on creep. And because there's no early game detection, those Zerglings generally have that advantage early in the game, especially against the slow moving units of the gateways. Cybernetics core, the sentries, zealots, and stalkers all move relatively slowly compared to Zerglings when they are on creep. Taking a look back over here, we now see some drones being transferred. 7 drones now being transferred. Argos Xenix really needs to get a strong economy going. We do see the hatchery has been completed here. He should be getting up another queen down in this position as well. Yeah, there's that second queen that I was talking about earlier. A probe now making its way across the map, and very, very interesting that the probe actually went into this direction here. It may set up a proxy pylon and perhaps try to rush with a Stargate. A Stargate with Void Rays would be very, very strong on this map if it is not scouted out in time. If Argos sees this early enough, he would be able to train up enough queens, even if it was just simply off of hatcheries. But we do see that the Stargate is currently being warped in, but it is being warped in and built along this backside here, so it is not going to be a proxy Stargate. Perhaps a proxy pylon once that proxy gateway is up. The warp gates are up, and then being able to warp in stalkers, and then using stalkers on the low ground while Void Rays are on that high ground. Zergling perhaps going to try to test the waters, will not be able to get up this ramp very, very easily at all, as there is one zealot holding position there and also a sentry. One overlord guarding this location here, trying to see if there is going to be any air units, and Mentos may accidentally rally his one Void Ray or Phoenix into Argos Xenix's overlord, and that would be a problem. We'll see if it's going to be Phoenix or Void Ray. It is going to be a Void Ray, as there isn't that many production buildings, and now in comes this overlord. Overlord does spot the Stargate, so the gig is up. Mentos has been revealed, and Argos Xenix should be, yes, getting that evolution chamber in order to get some spore crawlers. Spore crawlers very, very essential in trying to deal with Phoenixes and Void Rays. A sentry now coming in, and that overlord will get shot down. But the scouting has been done. He does know that it most likely is a Void Ray based upon the timing and how long it took to just build that one Void Ray unit. We now see a Phoenix also being trained up, as well as more more spawn larvae currently coming into play. I do not see a spore colony down in this position, so that is a little bit of a surprise. One overlord hanging out over here, as this Void Ray does move relatively slowly. It is one of the slower air units in the game. It is faster than all the massive units though, as that Void Ray now on the move will be able to deal a lot of damage if it tries to push out. It's hunting for overlords, but it hasn't really come across any just quite yet. And now that we are teching into a hatchery, we should be able to get a Hydralisk Den, and as soon as that Hydralisk Den is done, I believe the damage will, enough damage will be dealt. In comes the Queen, or the Void Ray. The Void Ray trying to get some damage, but the Void Ray is not charged, and that Void Ray just taking a lot of damage from that Queen. That Queen is a little bit faster than that Void Ray while on creep, so the Void Ray deciding to back off, letting those shields naturally recharge. It looks like the Void Ray is trying to look for air superiority, perhaps going to try to take down some of those Zerglings over here. We do see a Phoenix now being chrono boosted out. That Phoenix will be trained up very, very quickly, but it's not going to matter as we are now going into Hydralisk. So proper counter units coming in from Xenix. Argos Xenix doing a great job making sure that he knows what his opponent has and that he's trying to counter it with the right units. We also see drones currently being trained, so 9 drones. And now Argos has a very, very strong economic lead. He doesn't need to move out. When his macro is this strong, he can simply just attack move with those Hydralisks and be able to shoot Void Rays down very, very easily. We do see finally that we are getting some creep tumor spread, but these creep tumors really need to be laid down much more quickly and try to be spread out a little bit faster. Otherwise, Argos is not going to be able to get his Hydralisk into position nearly as well. Hydralisk move 50% faster. Yeah, that's right, 50% faster while on creep. So that is a definite speed bonus. In comes a Phoenix now. That Phoenix, however, will not be able to get in nearly that close. There is one Spore Crawler on the north side of this one layer here. The layer, and there's no real tech buildings here. So that's a little bit of a surprise that no tech buildings are at the main hatchery location. More creep tumors are now being laid down in addition to another Hydralisk. So a Hydralisk are going to be dealing some damage over here, and I just realized that my Skype is on, so I'm going to go ahead and close it so that you don't hear it. Anyways, in comes that Void Ray. Void Ray getting some damage onto those Hydralisks. And the Hydralisks, however, do have a decent amount of range, able to get some damage onto those Void Rays. Void Rays deciding to pull back, realizing that they cannot go toe-to-toe against a group of Hydralisks here. But over here, we now have, 4 Phoenixes in the air continuing to be masked. We had one Overseer. That Overseer was trying to get some additional sight, was able to see that a Robotics Bay is now coming in. So Mentos getting that Robotics Bay, and that Robotics Bay is going to be very, very successful with those against those Hydralisks, as Hydralisks generally like to group together, and that will make them take a lot of damage, especially when they are shared. We do see that we have the Ventral Sacs upgraded on those Overlords, so we are going to get a classic StarCraft 1 Brood War drop with these Overlords. The Overlords are now going to pick up many of those Hydralisks and many of those Zerglings as well. Going to go ahead and pick them up and just drop them up onto that high ground. What will Mentos do? Mentos will have to single file his way back into this base over here, as now we have 5 Overlords simply dropping straight into the base already. Hydralisk now coming in as well. Those Overlords are going to start spawning creep as well, and this is going to be a problem straight in the base. A classic Brood War strategy, oh so effective. Now trying to take down this Robotics Bay here. A Void Ray now coming in, but Hydralisks are in position and will be able to snipe down many of those Void Ray. Zerglings also getting a lot of damage in as well. Stalkers unable to really reinforce, and wow, Argos doing a great job. Hydralisk now trying to take down the robotics facility before a Colossus comes out the robotics facility, down to 400 hit points there. Zerglings now trying to swarm around, trying to take down those Stalkers. And now, wow, Argos Xenix losing much of his attacking force here. There are still a couple more Hydralisks. Hydralisks may be able to get down that last robotics facility. Will it be able to? No, not in time. So the Colossus is out. And that really, really benefits Mentos. Mentos, with that Colossus, will be able to deal a lot of damage very, very easily. He just has to be careful. And once again, those Phoenixes are in the air and now trying to stop the generation of that creep. But Overlord being used for pure creep generation for those Hydralisks. And now in comes the Phoenix. Phoenix now Graviton beaming all of those units one at a time. Mass Phoenixes countering those Hydralisks, especially when there are Stalkers on the ground. The Colossus has been sniped, I believe. Yes, the Colossus has been sniped, so only 5 Phoenixes and a couple of Void Rays. Those Phoenixes are going to try to deal some damage. Overlord, in comes some more Hydralisks. Hydralisks now coming back in. We are going to get some more Graviton Beam. Nexus was sniped down, so a lot of damage is being dealt across the board. More probes now suffering damage from those Hydralisk. Probes aren't even trying to fight back. Phoenix is now going after Overlords. Overlords have been shot down, but now that one Void Ray has also been taken down, and now with this creep in the base, Mentos will not be able to warp in another Nexus. That is absolutely perfect. We still see that Stargate is still being built over here. Phoenix is now trying to get more damage across those overlords, able to get a lot of damage onto them, and now in comes a couple Hydralisks. Hydralisks will be able to shoo away many of those Phoenixes. Phoenix down to 2 hit points. Wait for it, there goes one. Mentos not keeping track of his units there, and instead trying to win this war, unable to, as Argos Zenith was picking up his lower hit point Hydralisk and doing a great job of just completely catching Mentos off guard. I have not seen a drop like this in StarCraft 2 ever. Just a classic drop, and I guess a lot of players don't really get ventral sacks, and with how effective that drop was, especially against a Protoss player who I believe was just simply planning on relying on force fields and choke points in order to fight back, it wasn't really that successful. We do have one pylon that needs to get shot down here, as it is blocking the probes from being able to do any serious mining, but Argos Zenix should be able to easily take this game now. Hydralisk now cleaning up the rest of these leftover buildings here, and one Overlord now quickly flying into its death. We do see Immortals now being trained, but those Immortals are not going to be able to deal any damage at all. Seriously, Immortals against Hydralisk are going to be able to just simply take them down so easily. One Stalker needs to pull back. That Stalker is taking more damage than those Hydralisks are able, and the Hydralisks are able to dish out damage very, very quickly. They do have, a little bit more hit points, and that is why 3 Hydralisks beat out 3 Stalkers there, even not being microed. Back over here, more Hydralisks once again on the move. 2-0 upgrades also online for those Hydralisks. This Hydralisk army is just looking so strong, and with so many Overlords in the air, another drop could be imminent. We now see 3 hatcheries being built at the gold mineral location. I like this play by Argos. Argos once again using queens, trying to get as much larva as possible, currently running off of 6 hatcheries, so his production will be very, very, very high, enabling him to just out macro his opponent. You can see that he's currently sitting on 700 minerals, but across so many hatcheries, he's currently sitting on 13 larva, with more of those locations still spawning larva. So even though he is currently training more units, with 3 hatcheries, he can just constantly train up Zerglings one after another, sitting on 11 larva right now. Hydralisk once again on the move, moving out, getting some damage onto those photon cannons there. Stalkers and Immortals able to pick off some of those Hydralisks. One Hydralisk down to 3 hit points. It looks like it will be able to escape. And now Argos just being very, very comfortable confining Mentos to his 2 bases right now, his starting location and his low ground location. We now see a Warp Prism perhaps trying to take the island location here, but this island location should quickly fall, as well as there are so many Overlords, and now Mutalisks in the air. 13 Mutalisks should be able to clean up that one Nexus on the top left hand side, and that should be game. Mentos still only mining off of 8 mineral patches right now. 16 mineral patches, trying to get back into this game economically. You can see that he's mining at least 1,200 minerals a minute, but he's still not going to be able to deal that much serious damage. Hatchery now being placed down here at the 3 o'clock location, so essentially half of the bases on Lost Temple currently belong to Argos, and Argos just waiting until he gets up to that 200 food count. He will be able to just attack move into this base. If he does lose a lot of units, he's not really that concerned, as he knows he's able to outproduce his opponent. We have a Colossus currently getting the extended thermal lance range level 1 weapons upgrade against Argos Zenix's build. Argos Zenix sitting on 6 hatcheries with 38 larva. So 38 larva, he wouldn't even be able to successfully create Ultralisks. Actually, he would be able to create 120 food of Ultralisks very, very quickly. Mutalisks now trying to coming in, getting a lot of damage across the board, and now Mentos realizing that Argos is simply going to control the map and not allow Mentos to move out, says GG. So yeah, GG here on Lost Temple. Argos pretty much clinching the game about 10 minutes, 12 minutes into it, or 10 minutes into it, with that very, very effective drop. 5-6 Overlords with Zerglings and Hydralisks. He had researched the movement speed upgrade and the ventral sack, something that is not very common early in the game, especially at that stage. And because of that, he was able to just drop so many units, and really Mentos really never recovered. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Argos, Zenix, and Mentos here on Lost Temple.